Hey there, comic book fans. It's Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and here I am in the car again, headed to another comic book show here in the Baltimore area, the third in just the last 3 weeks. This time down in Annandale, Virginia, at that little firehouse show that I frequently go to. This is a show that happens just about once a month, all year long. And I had just been down here, and I found some pretty good books the last time I was here. This time, I don't know what exactly I'm looking for, other than I'm definitely bringing some books to trade because I've been talking with a dealer that I had met at the Frederick Comic Con just a week ago, and it's possible that I could be making a trade for a Hulk 181. We'll find out. Other than that, he was supposed to be bringing in a very nice copy of Nick Fury #4 for me to look at. We'll find out if he actually did that or not. Otherwise, today we'll do some filming like I normally do, and we'll be looking for books. Could be anything today. So once I get home, I will sit down and we will do a little show and tell. Sit back, enjoy the footage, and I'll see you shortly. All right, everybody, I just finished up here in Annandale and I'm getting ready to head home. Once I'm there, we'll do a little show and tell. I got to say, this show was really good today. They had some good dealers there, had some great books, and I picked up some fun things I can speculate on, and one really good Silver Age book that was in super high condition, and I can't wait to get that into the press, get it cleaned, get it ready for a signing, and we'll talk about that once I get home. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
One eternity later.
All right, guys, I made it back home after going down to Annandale, Virginia. This is a show I go to just about every month, as I probably said earlier in the video. I was just down there a month ago, and I was not that enamored with that show, even though I enjoy my time when I go to these shows all the time, because at the very least, I get to talk to some of the dealers that I know. It's always good to see them and keep in touch. The last show I went to, I literally only picked up one book. But this show, I ended up finding a few things. And one of the things that I wanted to do, and we'll get to one of the last books in today's video, was go down there. And I was talking with one dealer. I had just seen him the week prior at the Frederick Comic-Con. And he was going to bring one of the books. And I ended up picking up a book. I'm not going to surprise that part of it, but we'll show you the book. But one of the things that he was going to do, and I don't think he followed through on it, and I didn't bring it up, to be quite honest, is I still had some pretty good books to trade. He was going to be looking for a Hulk 181. Now, in the meantime, you can look right behind me and see that I have since picked that up from another source. So I was kind of glad that I bypassed the copies that he had at the Frederick Comic-Con. The one that he sold that looked really nice, had the value stamp and everything, but he already knew that it was color touched. And even so, the guy beside me actually ended up buying that book. And I don't know if I would have bought it knowing that it was color touch, but I am also into CGC grading. So if you're not going to worry about getting graded, I guess it's not the biggest deal in the world. But I'm kind of rambling now. So go back down to Annandale, and specifically to go to the one dealer with the other book that he said he would bring. So as I'm getting to that dealer, I went around the rest of the room, and I actually found some things. And in this case, I was trying to keep the budget kind of low, because one, I knew he was going to bring this really nice. He said it was really nice. I didn't know what the price was, so I didn't want to go in there and just start spending, and then go to him and get that book, and then have to worry about it being overpriced, and then I'm overspending like I normally do. So I go down, and I go through the rest of the show, and I ended up picking up a few things, and they're all small. And I was looking for things that I liked, things that intrigued me, things that I thought were a good price that possibly could, once you get them graded, could definitely bring a higher price, a good return on investment. Some of them I'd like to keep in the PC. Obviously, some of them I was thinking about completely as an investment to resell, and again, help pay for the hobby. So let's start with, this is not the order that I bought these in, but it is sort of, I was looking at the list here, it might be even kind of the reverse a little bit, but let's get into it. So last book I actually picked up the show was from my buddies from Pop-Up Comics, and I was going through their books, and this one actually jumped out at me. It is Batman 125. It is the new storyline from Chip Zdarsky, and it's got this variant cover by Jim Lee, and I'm going, well, for one, it's a Jim Lee cover I would be interested in anyway. So we've got Chip Zdarsky, who wrote this, who is coming to Third Eye Comics, and I've got other good books for him to sign, other Batman 125s, but my thought is I might end up getting, this book intrigued me, it kind of jumped out, I'm going, I might get Chip Zdarsky to sign this, and then send it into the new Jim Lee signing. He's there with Alex Sinclair and Scott Williamson at CGC. I may send it in because I think all of them worked on the cover on this book. Yeah. Did I say Williamson? I meant Williams. Yeah, you got Jim Lee, Scott Williams, and Alex Sinclair all did work on this cover. I may send this book in once I get Chip Zdarsky to sign this. And that was kind of the thought on that. It's not a big investment or anything, but I think it'd be a kind of a cool book to do as a jam piece and then get it graded. So there was that. Wasn't the only Batman I picked up. There was one dealer that I've gone to before. He's always a very nice guy. Very small table, but his books are actually really good condition. Prices can be, I don't want to say high, but high enough that I don't know if I want to put some money into a book. I worry about the grading value of that book for the amount of money I put into that book.
It's right on that borderline. Like I said, they're not high, but they're just high enough that I would need a. It's too close to that line of where it would grade out that I would be worried that I would be basically just breaking even at that point once you put in those grader fees. But he did have a very nice copy of 394. I love this. This is the second of a 2-issue storyline from Doug Minch and Paul Gulacy, The Dark Rider. It is a great little short story. This was before they worked together on the Batman Legends of the Dark Knight run, where they did that storyline with Hugo Strange called Prey that I've talked about in the channel. I will pick those books up just as quick as I will pick this book up and the issue prior, 393. Love 394. I love this 2-issue storyline. So much story in those 2 issues that would take modern day writers right now. They drag this out for 8 months to tell you the storyline with countless crossovers, and you still wouldn't know what the hell was going on. Anyway, I'm rambling yet again. So also at this dealer, he had some other really nice books. As I said, some of them were really good books, but the price was just high enough that I was scared off about wanting to get them graded. But some of them were pretty low price, and the conditions were still pretty good. And it's the first time I've ever picked up this book. It is Shade the Changing Man #1 from DC Comics. And this right here was a shout out to Jim from Bronzeville Comics. It seems like every other video, he's picking up this book all the time. So that's a shout out to Jim. I love that. That's why I picked it up mostly. Also, it's in very good condition. This is a book, if you could pull a 9.8, can range anywhere. Recent sales have gone from $115 up to $195. So it's a slim possibility that this could be a grading candidate. 9.6 has dropped down to 55. I couldn't send it in unless it was an absolute 9.8 candidate. It's a pre-screen all the way in this case. But I did that more as a shout out to Jim than anything else. And if you guys haven't watched his channel, Bronzeville Comics, definitely check him out. All right, next up, again from the same dealer, was a very nice polybag copy of Barbie #1. And this, of course, has gone down a lot since the Barbie movie has come out. But this is a very nice copy. I'm very late to the train on this. It still has some pretty good value because even if you pull a 9.8 on this right now, it is still $165, but it is as much as $475. It's got some weird, it's one of those things, maybe it'll be worth it just to get it in there and get it graded. Hopefully it'll be a 9.8. I'm looking on my notes and I don't see any 9.6 notes on there, but I'm sure that drops down significantly. All right, now, one of the dealers that's there, very nice gentleman. Books are really random. They can be in all over the place. Partial runs here, and then you'll find a same run somewhere else in another box. And I will say sometimes the bagging isn't the best. Prices sometimes can be weirdly high, and sometimes can be really good. You can find books that are really crappy, and then you can find books that are just hidden gems. And I spent a lot of time. In fact, he was the first dealer I went to, and I found some really cool books. Not big investments at all, but because of the conditions that I was finding them, definitely some surprising potentials on this. So I'm not out there looking for this, but Early Defenders, issue number 13, you've got the Defenders still with the Hulk. Nighthawk has already joined the team. They're meeting the Squadron Sinister. I love this. This is really one of my favorites from my childhood. And I've been going back kind of loosely trying to collect the Defenders, especially the early stuff, but I'm still, just like I did the Invaders, I'm looking for high grade. It's not the biggest run. I'm not that excited about doing this run, but I ran into a little batch of Defenders and I pulled this one out, and it looks in scary good condition. I didn't spend a lot of money on this. But surprisingly, 9.8s on this, $312 recent sale. 9.6 still has value, $255. 9.4s dropped down to about $85. So I don't know if I would do a pre-screen on this. I think my judging skills are just good enough that I can maybe not worry about a pre-screen on this. But after some recent videos where I've done some unboxings of CGC, sometimes I question whether I shouldn't be pre-screening just about everything sometimes. So we'll see about that. I thought that was intriguing. He also had a very nice copy of Miss Marvel number 10. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the first appearance of Deathbird. But I've got this issue. Had this several times over the years. I had it when I was a kid, and I had it as part of a run that I picked up from an LCS years ago when I picked up almost the entire run of Miss Marvel. For pennies, basically, for a couple bucks a piece, I picked up that entire run, except for issue number 1. This, I wouldn't have picked it up, except, again, scary condition. 9/8. Now, this was a little bit more surprising. $86 for a 9.8. I'm like, okay, so we're taking, that surprised me a little bit. I thought at least a book from the 70s, high grade, almost, it doesn't matter what it is sometimes, that this would have come out to about 3-digit, probably 125 to 150, and that was surprising. 9/6s, forget about it, down to $55. But if you get Chris Claremont to sign us, who wrote this, I've seen as high as sales as $550. And that's the part that intrigues me about investment on this. Now, I didn't think about that at the time, but it was only after the fact, after I came home, and I realized, okay, maybe that's not really worth getting a blue label 9, even a 9.8. But you getting that signature, well, that's a lot different. So that was an interesting low budget find. Didn't cost a lot of money again. And then the last book I found, I wasn't necessarily looking for another copy of this. I've already got it. I've already got it to help complete the run. But again, scary condition for the book, and especially this, a square bound, and for the price, really inexpensive. I picked up another copy of The Invaders Annual number 1. This is the very final Alex Schomburg cover, and that's the value on the book, is because of the cover. So I picked that up, and this one's still really nice condition. 9/8, $329, 9/6s down to $150. It is a grading candidate, and that's why I picked up all 3 of these books as potential investments. I don't necessarily need these in my PC because I've already got them in my PC at this point. But that brings us to the last book, and this is actually the first book I picked up because, as I said, that dealer that we were talking at the Frederick Comic-Con, we had talked about the Hulk 181, but he was also going to find a Silver Age classic comic by Jim Steranko that I was looking for, and I was looking at that time to be able to send it into the Jim Steranko signing at CGC. Well, that's passed, but I am hoping, fingers crossed, that he's going to be another show at Heroes Con come June. He seems like he's been there for the last several years consecutively. In fact, I'd gotten books signed from him there a couple years ago that I got graded. Well, I was wanting to get this book signed. There's a few Jim Steranko books that I want to get signed that I want to keep in the PC, and I was looking for a very good copy of this. I've got one, but when I get it graded, I don't want that grade to drop down and me look at that grade and just be disappointed. I want it high enough that I'll be really proud of that. Plus, it's also good for investment when it gets sold at some point by my daughter after I pass away and she gets my books. She'll want that higher value to be able to afford. She can afford my funeral if she sells that, maybe. Well, maybe not. I don't know. But what he brought was this right here. It is Nick Fury, number 4. Now, Steranko did the cover, but he didn't do the interior, but that doesn't matter. It is all about this cover. To me, there are many Steranko covers, but there's only 2 that absolutely jump out. In fact, you can see the other one right over my right shoulder right here. I've got a print right here of Captain America number 111. It's a recreation that Jim Steranko did, but can't really see it. But, well, I guess you can. He signed that right there a couple years ago when I picked that up. Well, I'm looking. This is my other favorite cover, and I'm looking to take this down to Heroes Con if he shows up down there and get this signed at this point. I'm just hoping. They haven't announced the new round of artists and creators at this point. I'm hoping Jim Steranko is going to be part of that once again. But this was a very, very nice copy. In fact, he had 2 copies. One, and you can tell the difference in how white this one is compared to the other one. And the only real defect on the back is right there on the, not the spine, but on the loose side on the back. There's a little piece out, just a very minor little piece out. And that's going to definitely hurt it a little bit. I just hope that the rest of the book is so good that it won't knock it down too much once we get that graded. But this right there is a grading and signing candidate for sure. At the very least, it's going to get, this book will get graded at some point. But here's the thing. This book wasn't as cheap as I would have liked, but the condition for this Silver Age book was so scary that okay, I can invest in this book, whether I get it signed or not. So talking about investment down the road, daughter selling the book, me selling the book, maybe, I don't know, but I'm going to give you values. 9.4, I'm going to do Blue Label first, because I don't know if it'll go above a 9.4. I hope I hit that. Honestly, I'd hope it'd be a 9.6, to be quite honest. But 9.4 is a $500 book. 9.2, 468, 9.0, 325, and even an 8.5 at 264. And any of those grades, plus my grading fee, I will still come out. I mean, I'm obviously, the lower I get, I'm getting closer to that break-even line, but I will do really good on that. But getting them signed, a little bit different. It's even more. Signed 9.4, $600, and that kind of surprised me. I thought that'd be a little bit more, because the 9.2 sold in 2022. Now, that was the peak of the bubble. $719 for a signed 9.2. A 9.0 it was a best offer. Offer was started at $800. They took a little bit less, so I don't know how cheap that actually went, but it went a little bit less than $800. But an 8.5, now this one dropped significantly. The last sale was $274. So just take it for what you mean. I think, honestly, you're not going to go wrong adding a Jim Steranko to a book like this, no matter what. Again, in scary condition, it will be something to behold once we get this signed, and we will definitely do a show on that, and we will go over what the values are at the time when I do that show. But guys, that was not the only thing I ended up at this show. So while I was at Pop-Up Comics, I got to see somebody that I've known for the last couple of years. I got to know him through Pop-Up Comics, and he's doing something a little bit different these days than selling comics and things. He was also I don't want to say owner, but he was running DMV Comic Collectors Group. That was a group that I was part of for a long time. I went to several of their trade shows where you could trade comics with other collectors. I did some of that, so I've spotlighted him on the channel before. But I hadn't talked to him for a while, and I hadn't seen this person in a while. His name's Jason Shaw, and one of the things, he's been doing something that's I wouldn't say completely different, but he did something that he's wanted to do his whole life, and that was write a comic book. And he was there. The book's coming out. It got featured in previews, the previews book magazine. I don't want to call it a magazine, but the previews guide for new comics here a month or so ago. And it's a book called Snow Monkey. And he ended up giving me a copy of this. And first issue right there, and I'm going, okay, definitely, I'll check this out, and I'll talk about it as much as I can. And the artist, let me see if I can get this right, Hubert Kahn Michael, I think I got that right. But the artwork is really cool in here, but it's a story that's really good. It's a good pace. It's not overly complicated, and it's a good setup. There's a nice cliffhanger at the end, and I'm going to recommend going out there and getting this book. And from what I understand, now, this video may come out after Free Comic Book Day, but my understanding is Jason's actually going to be at Third Eye Comics doing a signing on Free Comic Book Day, because one of the free comic books out there is going to be a Snow Monkey comic book. I don't know if it's going to be a reprinting of this or a new story, but I'm looking forward to seeing Jason, who I know now, at Third Eye Comics, if that truly is, the rumor is true that he is going to be there. So that is so cool. And good for him, and I enjoyed the story. I think this is part of a mini-series. I think it's issue number 1 of 4. So I will look forward to picking up the other 3 and reading the rest of the story. And again, I said I enjoyed the artwork, and yeah, I'm going to let the piece speak for itself. You guys check this out when you can. When it comes out in the stands, make sure you look for it. All right, guys, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely leave me a comment down below. And if you really enjoyed the video, definitely hit that like, slap the subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the future episodes that I put out each and every week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 3 p.m. All right, guys, take care. I will see you for the next episode. Just remember, every comic has a story.